Hey there friends, thanks so much for joining me for today's premiere video where we are going to be creating this card, and I'm going to show you a fun technique that you can try out with the embossing folders that you have in your stash. Let's get started. Hey friends, today I'm going to be using the Spellbinders embossing folder of the month, and this is the faux stitched petal. You can get this now in the Spellbinders shop on its own, even if you're not a club member. But I've recently started subscribing to the embossing folder of the month. This one was from April 2024. And I really like getting a few new embossing folders at the moment. I just find that they're very versatile. You can do a lot with them, and they make an awesome card. Even if you just emboss a card panel and put a sentiment on top, it still looks great. And so I think embossing folders are, not used enough. So today I want to show you a fun way to use this one. So it's called the Faux Stitched Petal. It has these really cool kind of almost like sun rays in it. So you'll see it better once I emboss my panel. Now I have a peacock here from Concord and Ninth. It's a beautiful dark teal. And for what I'm doing today, I think a dark cardstock works better. I've cut this to 4 by 5 1/4. You want to make sure that you get your panel the size that you want it before you emboss it, because if you put it in your paper trimmer or anything like that, you can kind of damage those raised embossed places. So I have this cut. Let's go ahead and emboss this design. One of the most important things is that you get the card panel even in the embossing folder. So I like to make sure that from left to right that there isn't a big difference in what you're going to see on each side. So I like to kind of put it in the center of the folder. I typically don't mind so much top and bottom. Okay, so it's in my folder. I'm going to grab my Platinum 6 here, take off my magic mat, put in my embossing folder. This is a standard embossing folder, not the 3D. So you got to make sure that you're following the instructions on whatever die cutting machine you're using. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Ta-da! Now look at this. It is so stunning. I am so happy that I am getting this subscription. You can definitely check that out at the link in my video description below. But look at that design. Isn't it just stunning? So this is what I'm talking about. Embossing folders, you can just put a sentiment on that, layer a piece of, different colored cardstock underneath that, and you have a beautiful card. But let's take it to the next level. For this technique, I'm going to grab my pops of color, and this one is Pearl Seafoam. Now, I like to use a color that is lighter than the cardstock that you're using, but in the same color family. And also important, this pearl. So it's kind of like a metallic, but it's not glitter, right? So it's easy to apply. I'm grabbing a foam applicator. This is also from scrapbook.com. And this is kind of like paint, right? It's kind of like paint, but I'm dabbing it on here. And I'm just going to lightly touch the tops of the raised areas with my sponge. And you can see that sheen kind of bringing those raised areas to life, especially on these kind of sun ray areas. That's where you're really going to see that difference because it's a big kind of solid area. Now, if you get it on the bottom portion, like the part that's not embossed, it's not really a big deal. It's still going to look gorgeous. And it's quite hard, honestly, to only get just the raised bits. So don't stress too much about that. You just want to have a light hand. So you're not pressing, you're just running the foam over the top. And it does take quite a bit of the pops of color, but wow, this is, I mean, this, it just comes to life, this design, with just this little bit of this pops of color. So using a really light hand here, and when I go to reapply, I'm just grabbing a tiny bit. It's kind of like when you're ink blending and you really don't want too much on your applicator, so you kind of tap it off. That's what I'm doing here. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? Kind of has a silverish effect to it. But because it is that sea foam, it's not a huge contrast in color. It's pretty much just a lighter tint of this peacock. Wow, I just love this. And all those dots kind of come out too. It's really, really beautiful. And it only takes a few minutes. And the other thing about pops of color, it's very quick to dry. So this won't take long at all to dry. So it's not like you're going to be waiting here for hours. You have to pull out your heat tool. When I tried this earlier, I think I tried to die cut a few things, and before I was done die cutting, it was dry. I'm just going to get a little bit more, not too much because I don't want to waste it. This stuff is great. Be sure to check out the link in my video notes, because pops of color, there are so many now, so many colors, and they're just so beautiful. I really, really love the pearls. I just think they're really stunning. And you can apply them kind of like you would enamel dots too. They make great little dots on projects. They're just really good. They're just all over fun. You can do mixed media techniques with them. Just really, really fun. Look at that. Do you see that sheen? Oh wow, you can really see it here. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so what you want to do here is definitely get your sponge cleaned off right away so that that pops of color comes out and you can use it for something else. So I'm going to go wash this. Okay, so I'm going to put this panel aside to dry. I just love it. But for the top of this panel, I wanted to create a focal point. And to do that, I grabbed a favorite die set that I recently got from Spellbinders, the Essential Modern Ovals. And the reason why I'm using Spellbinders products today is because as we watch this together, I will be traveling to Spellbinders headquarters for their Weekender event. So I'm really excited to check that out and also look in this warehouse of amazing goodies. But I really love these modern ovals. I love their die sets. They're just fantastic. So I used 2 of those ovals and I cut a piece of Tide Pool cardstock from Concord and 9th and then some matte silver. I really thought silver would work best with this panel. And I'm just going to adhere these together. Just placing that Tide Pool on top of the silver just so you get that little frame of silver. And this is going to create my focal point. Now, it's still going to be quite simple. I didn't want to cover up too much of my background because I really love it. So I'm going to place this oval to the right side of the panel, just like that. Okay? And I want something to give you some interest on that panel. So I have cut the flowers from the sealed bouquet cutting dies. These are really great because they give you a few different stem options and a couple of different flower options that you can layer up. Okay, so I cut this from Sprout from Concord and Ninth, and this one from Parsley. And I really liked those greens against the tide pool and the peacock. I thought they were quite fresh and nice. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just going to figure out where I should put my leaves, and then I need to build my flowers. So these flowers, I need to get something to pick these up here because they're not coming out. I love these trays from scrapbook.com. They're really handy for when you are die cutting, like for a project and you want to just put things aside. So for these flowers, you have a large one and you have a smaller one, and they kind of go like this, just like that. So you have that center portion kind of poking out, which I really like. I really like the yellow against the pinks. And then this one is kind of the same. Have that yellow portion, but this one is a bit smaller, just like that. And then you also have kind of a little bud on this one. And so I decided to do that in a darker color. So I'm just going to put these together with some liquid adhesive. So just a really simple floral here. I didn't want to do anything too much. I have this beautiful embossed panel here, and I wanted that to kind of stand out. The one thing that I do want to do here is almost pop that up. Or I could just do this here. I'm going to do this and put some adhesive along the bottom, like so, and then grab an acrylic block that I can put this on top and kind of weigh it down. There we go. Just like that. Put it aside and then work on my little flower. Same kind of thing. I'm going to put some liquid adhesive along that bottom edge. Put the bottom portion on top of that. And then grab another acrylic block. There we go. And then for this little guy, he's not officially a flower yet. So we're just going to put a little bit of glue here. And attach him right there. And I think this one is going to be for my smaller flower. Just making sure that that adhered down okay. It looks like it did. And a little dot of glue right there. Let me come in a little bit closer for you guys so you can see the details on these little flowers. They have lovely little cuts in them. Spellbinders always has the most beautifully detailed dies. And they're always worth putting together. So there's that one, very cute. And here's our big guy. Right here. And we're just going to adhere him here. Just like that. And I am going to grab some foam adhesive from Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. And for each of these flowers, I'm going to put some foam adhesive behind so that part kind of gets raised up on the card front. There we go. Okay, so now it's just down to arrangement. And I kind of want to do something like this. See how in the picture it has them kind of arranged in a crisscross kind of way. So that's what I was hoping to do. But I definitely want them crossing so that some are higher than the other, and then I can just trim. That's quite nice. Okay, so I like that arrangement there. And then my idea is to put, let's think, to put my sentiment on them. So maybe I want them straight, more like this. And I'll raise that one up. I want my sentiment to go right below, like almost like it's like holding them down. And I really, okay, I like this little arrangement here. And the cool thing is that because I have dimensional adhesive there, I can kind of separate those out, spread them out a little bit so that you can see them better. Okay, so I like that. So what I'm going to do is grab some tape. And you know what? I have Spellbinders Best Craft tape. So let's give this one a try. We're going to put them together like so. I'm going to raise this one up a little bit, raise that one up a little bit, and pull that one down a little bit like that. And kind of attach them in the way I want them to go. And then I can just put a lot of glue on them. Like so. And if my sentiment hits kind of there in that bottom third, that's where I want them to be, kind of centered right there. I really, really like that arrangement. I think that's super pretty. So I'll press those down and then pull back my tape. And then those are going to be in place, and I can put that on for just a minute while I prep my sentiment. Okay, whenever I take out my glimmer machine, I glimmer all the things. If it's plugged in and it's ready to go, I just keep glimmering. So usually it's a bunch of sentiments that I do. So I did this sheet of sentiments, and I thought that one of these would be perfect for today's card. So I just have a strip die here. I like the sending love, but I also like just a note because I always need a card for just anything. Or if I'm sending someone a package, I always like to put a card in as well. So I'm just going to put this here. I'm just grabbing whatever tape I have on my desk. I always have at least 3 pieces of tape on my desk, and I'm going to grab my Platinum 6. Let's go out wide here, take out my embossing folder, and find my magic mat from scrapbook.com. Cannot wait till I have my magnetic magic mat. It's going to be a great day when that comes in, and you guys will be the first to know about it. Okay. So here's my silver glimmered just a note. If you guys don't know about the Glimmer machine, it's such a great tool. Just, you know, gives you this beautiful, shiny illustrations, sentiments. They're the best. Okay, and then I'm going to use this. Now, I want it to be wide enough so that it extends past the oval. Look how pretty that's going to be. Love that. Okay, so I want that to extend past the oval, which I think it is going to be just fine. So I'm going to stand up here so I can make sure that I am getting this little notched edge centered. That's the hardest part about these little notches, just making sure they're in the right place. And then doing it the same on both sides. That's also kind of difficult. Okay, so there's that one. Perfect. Now let's turn it around and get it on the opposite side, hopefully in the same place. Kind of have to eyeball how far it is from your sentiment, and then make sure that it's in the center of your strip as well. Okay, crossing fingers. Let's see. And that looks great. I did it. Okay, so don't lose that. Let's move our Platinum 6 out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to get a feel for where this is going before I trim. I love that. So pretty. Let's go in a bit closer. Look how pretty that is. It's just so simple, yet really elegant and beautiful. Let me grab my favorite Spellbinders scissors here to trim this, and I'm going to trim these so that they're just inside of the tide pool modern oval. And I think I'm going to put the tiniest bit of glue on those two, just so they're not kind of flapping around at the bottom. So tiny, that those little glue dots that I just placed there, but then that will hold those bottoms in place so they're not moving too much. There we go. Then I'm going to take off the backing of my dimensional adhesive so that I can get that flower in place where I want it to be. I like that. And the same goes with my little one. It's nice that you can manipulate these. So I'm going to pull this one out a little bit. So you can keep the stem straight, but just move that flower a little bit. I'm going to get another piece, maybe two more, just for those leaves. Just cut two more small pieces here. Now the question is, do I pop up the oval? Part of me thinks yes. What do you guys think? Tell me in a comment. Do I pop up the oval and have this popped up as well? I think it might be nice. Just like that. Love it. Most important thing is not to put it on crooked right now. There we go. How pretty is that? So this is where I realized that I put down my dimensional adhesive on top of my mouse and stopped my recording without realizing it. And so I finished my card without recording. But really the only thing that I did from where I stopped before was I popped up just a note. I popped up the modern ovals onto that embossed panel and adhered those. And I put everything onto this Tide Pool by Concord and Ninth A2 piece of cardstock. So all I did was add quite a bit of dimension there. You can see my leaves are popped up, my flowers are popped up, the Just a Note is popped up. And then I used these beautiful Buttons Galore and More Sparklets embellishments, which are now on sale at Spellbinders. And this is the Aloha pack. And I really like that it has the teals and the pinks. And so I created like a little kind of wavy line of embellishments that go through that oval to finish off the card. So super easy card to create with an embossing folder, some pops of color from scrapbook.com. Then I used the Essential Modern Ovals to create a focal point with the sealed bouquet florals and topped that with the glimmered Just a Note sentiment in silver. I really love this card. I hope it gives you guys some great ideas for pulling out your embossing folders, or maybe checking out the Embossing Folder of the Month Club from Spellbinders, because I am really enjoying it. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this premiere. Thanks so much for chatting with me. If you're watching on replay, be sure to leave a comment. If you're not subscribing to me, be sure to subscribe for Friday lives with me. And I'll see you guys back here next week with a live. Happy creating, you guys.